Namaskar, Om Shakti Hrim, Namah Shivaya, Om Namo Narayanaya. The Narada Purana Part 1. This is always the first shloka in any Purana. Narayanam Namaskritya. Narayana is another name for Vishnu. In fact, Vishnu is believed to have been born as two sages named Nara and Narayana. The couplet means that prior to reading the sacred text, one should pray to Narayana and Nara, the best of all humans. One should also pray to Saraswati, the goddess of learning. It is only after these prayers are over that one can start reading the sacred text, known as Jaya. The word Jaya was initially used to refer to the Mahabharata, but subsequently came to include the Ramayana and the 18 Puranas as well. There was a forest known as Naimisharanya. Shaunaka and several other sages performed meditation there. The sages were all honest and righteous. They had attained control over the sense and over hunger and thirst. They did not fall prey to pride, jealousy or pity. In that forest they prayed to Vishnu. Some sages performed sacrifice, others meditated on the true nature of Vishnu, and still others made offerings to the great God. The sages were trying to attain the four goals of Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha, liberation. They called for a huge assembly at which this means for attaining the goals might be debated. 26,000 rishis, sages, came to attend this assembly. As for the disciples, they were too many to be counted. When the sages were busy discussing and debating, the sage Shaunaka said, "I would like to submit something for the consideration of the assembly. Not very far from here is the hermitage ashrama known as Siddha Ashrama. The sage Sutta lives there. I don't need to remind you that Sutta is Vedavyasa's disciple and the great sage Ramaharshana's son. Sutta is learned in the Puranas. The best means for attaining the four goals is to listen to a recital of the sacred Puranas. Why don't we go and ask Sutta to recite the Puranas to us?" The other sages were delighted at this wonderful suggestion. They all trooped off to visit Sutta in Siddha Ashrama. Sutta was engaged in performing a yajna then. The special yajna was known as Agnistoma and was dedicated to Vishnu. The sages waited till the ceremony was over. Then they told Sutta, "We are your guests and it is your duty to serve your guests. You have to give us what we desire. We are thirsting for knowledge. Please recite to us the wisdom of the Puranas." "I will do that gladly," replied Sutta. Narada had recited to Sanat Kumara the wonderful Narada Purana. A sinner who listened to a recital of this Purana is pardoned all his sins. This is the text that I am going to reveal to you. If one faithfully listens to the recital of even one couplet of the Purana, the severest of sins is forgiven. The only stipulation is that the text must never be revealed to those who are evil or to those who do not revere religion. Please focus your minds on Vishnu and concentrate. I am about to start. Brahma had four sons named Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatkumara and Sanatana. All four of them became sages devoted to Vishnu. They were always on the search for wisdom and knowledge. Brahma had a city on the peak of Mount Sumera. The four brothers once went on a visit to the city. By the side of the city flowered one of the tributaries of the holy river Ganga. This tributary was named Sita. The brothers were bathing in the river Sita when who should arrive there but the sage Narada himself. Sanat Kumara and his brothers greeted Narada, and Narada reciprocated. Sanat Kumar told Narada, "You are omniscient, you know everything, you are also a famous devotee of Vishnu. Tell us about the mysteries of Vishnu. Tell us about the methods whereby meditation becomes successful." Narada prayed to Vishnu and started to recital. Prior to creation there was a great Godhead, Mahavishnu, which was everywhere. It had no form and no expression. It could not even be described. When the time for creation drew near, the Godhead divided itself into three forms. Brahma was created from the right side of the Godhead, and Brahma's appointed task was creation. Shiva was created from the center of the Godhead, and his job was destruction. Vishnu was created from the left side of the Godhead. Vishnu was assigned the task of preservation. People sometimes refer to the original Godhead of Vishnu, Shiva or Brahma, or even as the Brahman, the divine essence. The Brahman is identical with the universe. To think otherwise is to suffer from illusion. The female counterpart of principle of the Godhead is referred to as Shakti. Shakti divides herself in two, Vidya, knowledge, and Avidya, ignorance. Knowledge means the appreciation of the identity between the Brahman and the universe. Ignorance is the absence of such an appreciation, and it is ignorance that is responsible for the miseries of the world. Shakti herself is referred by various names. When she is identified with Vishnu, she is known as Lakshmi. When associated with Shiva, she is called Uma or Parvati. And when in conjunction with Brahma, she is known as Saraswati. But they are really one and the same, manifestation of the same force, Shakti. Brahma and Saraswati are thus together responsible for creation, Srishti. Vishnu and Lakshmi are responsible for preservation, Sthiti. And Shiva and Parvati are responsible for destruction, Vaya. The unified Shakti is sometimes also called Mahamaya or Prakriti. The universe is made of 5 elements, Bhuta. Their names are Kshiti, the earth, Apas, the water, Tejas, the energy, Marut, the wind, and the Vyoma, the sky. The universe is divided into 14 regions, Bhuvans or lokas. 7 of them form the upper regions and are known as Bhuloka, Bhuvaloka, Svarloka, Maharloka, Janaloka, and Satyaloka. There are 7 more regions that constitute the lower region of the underworld. Their names are Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Tavatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, and Patala. The word Patala is also used to signify all of the underworld as a region. Each of the 14 regions has its own inhabitants, mountains and rivers. The earth is Bhuloka, and the earth is split into 7 regions, Dvipas. They are known as Jambudvipa, Pwakshadvipa, Shaumadvipa, Kushadvipa, Kraunchadvipa, Shakadvipa, and Pushkaradvipa. Bhuloka has 7 oceans named Lavana, Ikshu, Sura, Sarpi, Dabhi, Dutha, and Java. Bharatavarsha lies in Jambudvipa. It is that part of the land which is bounded by the Lavana ocean on the south and the Himalaya mountain on the north. Bharatavarsha is a wonderful place to live in, and even the gods desire to be born in this land. Bharatavarsha is known as Karma Bhumi. Karma means action. This land is therefore a place where action have to be performed. Bhoga means to enjoy or savor. Bhaga Bhumi is a place where the fruits of one's action are pleasured or savored. Bharatavarsha is not Bhoga Bhumi, it is merely a Karma Bhumi. The fruits of action performed in Bharatavarsha are savored elsewhere. Good deeds are rewarded in heaven, Svargaloka or Svarga, and sins have to be paid for in hell, Naraka. To be born in Bharatavarsha means to be given opportunity to perform good deeds. A person who does not avail of this opportunity is like a person who gives up a pot of Amrita for a pot of poison. If one wishes to be rewarded in heaven, one should relentlessly pursue the path of good karma. But action should not be performed with an eye to fruits of such action. One should dissociate oneself from the fruits which vest only with Vishnu. This sort of detached action is known as Nishkama Karma, and it is superior to all other forms of action. But nothing can be accomplished without faith. Vishnu spawns prayers and offerings that are made by the faithless. Faith and devotion are like a mother. Just a mother is a refuge of all living beings. Faith and devotion are the refuge of those who are devoted to Vishnu. That is what Vishnu told Markandeya. Sanat Kumara interrupted Narada. Who was Markandeya? He asked, and what did Vishnu tell him? Narada related the stories of Mrikandu and Markandeya. There was a sage named Mrikandu. A tirtha is a sacred place of pilgrimage, and the place named Shalagrama was the most wonderful of all tirthas. Mrikandu prayed for many years there. He recited the Vedas and performed tapasya. He regarded all the other living beings as no different from his own self. Indra and the other gods got scared at Mrikandu's tapasya. They themselves went and began to pray to Vishnu on the shores on the great ocean. Lord, they prayed, please deliver us from Mrikandu's tapasya. He will please you with his meditation, and heaven alone knows what boon he will then demand. He may dislodge us from heaven and start to oppress us. Vishnu was moved by the praise of the gods and appeared before them. He held a conch shell, shankha, a blade discus, chakra, and a mace garter in his hands. His eyes were like the petals of lotus flower, and his body shone with the radiance of a million suns. His clothes were yellow of hue, and he was bedecked with jewelry. When the gods expressed their fears, Vishnu calmed them down. Be at peace, he said. I know Mrikandu. He is a righteous and good individual. I am sure that he has no intention of oppressing you. Only sinners perform meditation so as to obtain boons that can be used to oppress other people. I shall go to Mrikandu and find out what he wants. Having blessed the gods, Vishnu went to pay Mrikandu a visit. The sages were delighted to see Vishnu. He fell at Vishnu's feet and did obeisance. I am pleased at your tapasya, Vishnu told Mrikandu. Crave the boon that you desire. I want no boon, replied Mrikandu. You have appeared before me, you whom the gods themselves find it difficult to see. What more can I want? I have no more desires. That cannot be, retorted Vishnu. Let not be said that Vishnu appeared before a devotee and did not grant him a boon. I tell you what we can do. I will myself be born as your son. Any line in which I am born is forever blessed. And that is what is going to happen to your line as well. Vishnu then blessed Mrikandu and departed. Mrikandu had a son named Markandeya. Since Markandeya was born from Vishnu, he shone with radiance and was also a very holy man. He became well versed in the knowledge of all the Shastras. Markandeya started to pray to Vishnu. Vishnu was so pleased with him that Markandeya was granted the boon that he would compose a Purana. This was Markandeya Purana. The entire world is periodically destroyed and flooded with water. At the time of one such destruction, all living beings on earth were killed. But Markandeya was spared by Vishnu. He floated on the water like a dried leaf. This went on for a long time. To understand how long this was, one has to have some conception of the measurement of time. The smallest unit of time is a nimesha. 15 nimeshas constitute one kastka. 30 kastka make kala. 30 kalas and one kshana. There are 6 kshanas in one danda, 2 dandas in one muhurta, and 30 muhurtas in one day. There are 30 days in a month, and each month is divided into pakshas of 15 days each. 2 months constitute a season, and 3 ritus constitute an ayana. There are thus 6 seasons and 2 ayanas in a year. The 2 ayanas are known as Uttarayana and Dakshinayana. 1 year for humans is equivalent to 1 day for the gods. Uttarayana corresponds to day for the gods and Dakshinayana to night. 12,000 years of the gods are known as Mahayuga. Each Mahayuga is divided into 4 sub-periods of Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dvapara Yuga and Kali Yuga. 2000 Mahayugas are merely 1 day for Brahma. There are 14 eras Manvantara in which of Brahma's days. Brahma's nights are just as long, and it is during Brahma's nights that the world is destroyed and flooded with the water. Each of Brahma's days is also called a kalpa. 100 years for Brahma are equivalent to a single day for Vishnu. This gives you some idea of how long Markandeya floated on the water throughout of Brahma's nights. The sight of the water everywhere frightened Markandeya out of his wits, but he continued to pray to Vishnu, and thanks to Vishnu's blessings no harm came Markandeya's way. Vishnu even appeared before the sage and said, "I shall save you. I always protect those who pray to me devotedly. Let me also tell you the signs of the true devotees. They love all other living beings and are free of jealousy and hatred. They never cause pain to others through their thoughts, words or deeds. They are peace-loving. My devotees serve sages, guests and parents well. They build temples and dig wells and ponds. They read and interpret the Puranas. In fact, you display all the traits of all true devotee of Vishnu's. Blessed by Vishnu, Markandeya performed a lot of tapasya in the tirtha known as Shavagrama. Some other Puranas state that Markandeya became immortal due to a boon received from Vishnu. The Padma Purana, however, states that this boon was received from Brahma. The Markandeya Purana gives many more details about Markandeya. The most holy of tirthas is the confluence of the rivers Ganga and Yamuna. Someone who bathes there attains perpetual good health, prospers, lives to a ripe old age, and is pardoned all his sins. Even the gods and the sages are fond of the waters at this sacred confluence. The river Ganga emerged from the feet of Lord Vishnu himself, and the river Yamuna is the daughter of the sun god Surya. Such being the regions of the two holy rivers, it is but natural that their confluence should be so sacred. In fact, the Ganga is so sacred that even if one just thinks of her, all pain is relieved and all sins are pardoned. Along the banks of the Ganga is a remarkable tirtha known as Prayaga. Brahma himself performed a yajna there. You can bathe in the waters of all the tirthas if you so desire, but the punya store of merit that you will acquire from this is only 16 of the punya you will acquire from touching a few drops of water from the Ganga. A person who anoints his head with mud taken from the banks of the Ganga becomes like Shiva himself. There are three objects that are sacred to Vishnu: the Ganga, the Tulasi, basil bush, and dust from the feet of a devotee of Vishnu. There are some other rivers also in which the Ganga is always present. Their names are Godavari, Saraswati, Kalindi, Kaveri, Krishna, Reva, Vahuda, Tungabhadra, Bhimaradhi, Vetravati, Tamraparni, and Shatadru. In the Solar dynasty there was a king named Vrika. Vrika's son was Vahu, and Vahu became a king after his father's death. Vahu was a good king who followed the righteous path. He ruled the earth well. The four classes are Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. It is desirable that each of classes should follow the duties that are prescribed for it. Otherwise there is complete chaos. What are the duties prescribed for each of four classes? The Narada Purana will detail them subsequently. To come back to the point, Vahu ruled so well that during his reign none of the classes deviated from its pre-assigned duties. As you have been taught early, the earth is divided in 7 regions of dvipas. In each of these dvipas, King Vahu performed an Ashwamedha yajna, horse sacrifice. The king was not only wise, he also defeated all his enemies. His subjects were happy, rains came on time, and there were good harvests. The sages performed their meditation free of all fear, and sin virtually vanished from earth. For 90,000 years the king ruled happily. But thereafter trouble started. All this pomp and glory turned Vahu's head, and he began to think, I rule over everyone. I am all-powerful, and I am performing many yajnas. Why should anyone else but me be worshipped? Do I not rule over the ends of the earth? I am not learned in the Shastras. I don't think that there is anyone superior to me. This inflated ego was a calamity and brought other evil threats. The possession of 4 objects led to unhappiness. These four objects are youth, wealth, power over others, and lack of foresight. Unfortunately, all four were combined in King Vahu. He started to suffer from envy and jealousy, and soon made enemies. It does not take very long for an envious person to make enemies. Among the powerful enemies that King Vahu had to contend with were kings known as the Kshatriyas and Tavajanhas. And since the king has been dislodged from the righteous path, Vishnu and Lakshmi also deserted him. After a fierce battle that went on for a month, the Kshatriyas and the Tavajanhas managed to defeat the king. They annexed the kingdom and drove him off into the forest. Vahu's wife Yadavi was expecting them. Vahu's enemies were not content with driving him off into the forest. They feared that Vahu's son might try to avenge his father. They therefore fed Yadavi some poison. Vahu had a second wife, and it was the second wife who fed Yadavi poison. Vahu was now penitent for his past misdeeds. With his wife he intended to seek peace and solitude in the sage Urva's ashrama. But the way to the hermitage was long, and the king suffered from hunger and thirst. He discovered a pond on the way and thought that he might drink some water from the pond. Vahu and Yadavi quenched their thirst and rested under the shade of a tree that grew by the side of the pond. On the tree lived many birds. They began to talk among themselves. "Hide," they said, "the silly Vahu has come here. It is best not to look upon him." King Vahu overheard this conversation and was mortified. He discovered that people were also freely criticizing him. Even his subjects were not at all unhappy that he had been robbed of his kingdom. This made the king so miserable that he had no further desire to live. His health deteriorated and old age took its toll. Vahu died as soon as he reached Urva's ashrama. His wife wished to immolate herself on her husband's funeral pyre. But the sage Urva restrained her. "You are expecting, and such an act would be tantamount to murder." He said, "It is a crime that I cannot permit to happen. Please refrain from what you are about to do. I can foretell that you will give birth to a powerful king." Yadavi listened to the sage advice. She performed Vahu's funeral rites and accompanied Urva to his hermitage.